And Mikel Merino is a joke. Mikel Merino is a freak. Merino is, I don't know what he is. A brace tonight for Spain. Arguably the best team in the world. Some will still say that it's Argentina. Some will say it's Spain. It's one of those two in my personal opinion. France have a shout. But a brace for them tonight. I think I wrote this down. 15 goals. 15 goals since February. And it's really quite funny because I didn't know much about Mikel Merino until ever before he was an Arsenal player, actually, but it was at the Euros, and I hadn't heard too much of him. I kind of heard the name around, and I saw him score that winning goal for Spain. And when we were out in Germany and we were speaking to some of the Spaniards who just said, you know, he's kind of blossomed a little later in life, but they looked at him as a sort of a bit of a, you know, he can pick up a goal here and there. He can be decisive for you. Isn't the best technically. It's only the last 5 years that he's been in the Spain squad, but a little bit of a late blossomer, late bloomer in that regard. And I remember when Arsenal signed him, and a lot of people, and they still people talk about him, oh, he's a really bad DM. He's not really a DM. You are right when people say, oh, he's not going to be Zubamendi. He's not going to be Pedri. He's not going to be Vitinha. No, he isn't that type of midfielder at all. And I'm about to say this, and I mean this with the utmost praise imaginable. He's a little bit more like a Scott McTominay. Decent on the ball, decent defensively, very good engine, but he has this knack, he has this ability to score goals. And he's been playing for Spain for 5 years, and he has seven goals. 5 have come in 2025. And maybe this happened when I was younger, but I just wasn't. I watched football, but what a lot of the younger people have got to remember is that we didn't add websites that had all the stats on it. We weren't making content about it. There weren't millions of other people making content about it where information, facts, and figures are far more readily available and almost imprinted in your mind now because I'm seeing them, and I know you are because you guys are in this community too. You're seeing it on a more regular basis, and it probably did happen before where players bloom late and sort of become consistent goal scorers later in their careers. And Scott McTominay's done that. But the reason why I mentioned Scott McTominay, and I do mean this as an air of praise, is I think Mikel Merino's, I think Scott McTominay's, that they need something. And what they need is to be in a balanced team. And it doesn't need to be the best team, but it needs to be a balanced side. And they both have that with their club sides, Napoli and Scotland, and Arsenal and Spain respectively, where they are complemented by other individuals. Man United for too many years with Scott McTominay. And by the way, in the last year he was at the club, we were actually getting this from him, but we were in such a mess we couldn't see the wood for the trees. We tried making him a centre-back. We tried making a deep-line playmaker. We tried making him a destroyer. We tried playing him like in a 10 role. And it didn't work because we didn't have all the other components around him. As I said earlier tonight here on the terrace, that football, every now and then you get a complete player that doesn't really have a weakness. They are so few and far between, it's unbelievable. And even then, I think we exaggerate they don't have weaknesses. And what a team is about is enhancing somebody's brilliant bits and helping to cover up their inefficiencies. And where they may lack, you know, taking the ball on the half turn, they may lack pirouettes, they may lack the ability to move the ball quickly like a Zubamendi, they may not have the sort of eagle-eyed accuracy of a Paul Scholes on the ball. They may not have the creative vision of a KDB or a Bruno Fernandes. They may not have the reading of the game that someone like a Michael Carrick or Busquets had. They may not do this. But what they do have, and I'm not even saying they're world class. I'm not even it's not even a claim like that. It's just praise for what I feel have been really unfashionable players for many years. And they're kind of making a comeback, and I sort of like it. But Moreno's a bit of a freak. He's a bit of a joke, the way he's just got this knack. And maybe it's only just happened in the last few years. I don't know what his goal scoring record was even like at Sociedad. I've not even looked. What's it in front? Decent. He was always a 2 or 3 league goals a season guy, a couple of years where he hit 5. But you wouldn't look at it and say prolific. But he seems to have found this knack now of knowing where to be in the box at the right time, can hit a ball. And he's just this amazing... I wouldn't call him a secret weapon, but he's almost like a haymaker. In boxing, all right, we need something here. What are you going to do? I'm just going to throw some bombs. I'm going to throw some bombs. If I land on the jaw, I might knock him out. Do you know what? Sometimes that tactic is needed. Sometimes, you see clubs do it. Jose was one of the first I ever see do it. I'm going to go and put a centre-back up front. I actually think Fergie did it with Steve Bruce a lot as well, to be fair. I'm going to put a centre-back up. We're going to start knocking some balls in. And I'm not saying Spain and Arsenal just go long ball when he's on the pitch, because that would be a massive exaggeration of what he does. But there is just something about it that I find amazing. I kind of enjoy it. I love Scott McTominay doing it, and Moreno's just like it as well. He's a bit of a freak. He really is. But a very good one indeed. And look, Spain, like England, just looking phenomenal right now. But it wasn't just that with Merino today. I was actually looking, I was obviously watching the game, and then I was breaking down these numbers afterwards. And, what I will say as well, and I've just sat there and said, isn't the greatest this, isn't the greatest that. Tonight as an example, though, because I know that there's already comments, people are shouting, but he did this, he did that. I think he created 5 chances tonight as an example. 41 of his 47 passes were completed in the game. He had the highest, I think he had the highest expected assists in the game. 100% successful dribbles as an example. Lots of touches, 65. I'm not sure where that puts him in the overall. 71% of his ground duels were won. Barely committed any fouls. 4 recoveries tonight, an interception. Only dribbled past once. This was a player tonight that was absolutely sensational, and I feel he's one of those weird players for me that I see a lot of Arsenal fans get on his back, and I don't understand it. And you're going to have to help me with that. You are going to have to make me understand what it is about him that some Arsenal fans just don't like, that some Arsenal fans just have a issue with. Because I don't get it. He won a penalty. Yeah, do you know what? I didn't see that bit because I was focused on the Portuguese game. I'll be honest with you. I did stop watching the Spain game, as in focusing on it about 65, 70 minutes into the game. So I'm not exactly sure when that penalty was late in the game, 90th minute. Yeah, I saw it up to like the own goal. When was that? That's the 79th minute. So it was a little bit later than I thought. And then I was watching the Portugal game because England and Spain were over. But yeah, Trevor Velli here said he can look clunky. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of this is. I think we do live in an era, right or wrong, you can decide, where the aesthetic element of a football player is what really matters. And it was listening to Steven Gerrard talk the other day, just run this home to me, where he sort of said that he couldn't cope in this era because of how physical he was. But he also spoke about how, he wasn't that technical. He was very good at passing, very good at shooting, very good at football. But I felt what he was, and I'd love to have asked him this question, because I think him and Rio were speaking in a language they just totally got each other. I'd love to say, when you say technical, do you mean you didn't look like you were very good in comparison to say a Paul Scholes or to a Xavi or an Iniesta that were just beautiful to watch play? And I think we are in an era now where you just hear more about that. A lot of people care about what it looks like as opposed to what it does. If that makes sense. And obviously, you want both. It would be amazing to have an aesthetically pleasing player that is also delivering. That's why everyone loved Lionel Messi. It's why everybody loved Cristiano Ronaldo. Still does. Still do. They're both playing. Someone here says he's Arteta's guy, and a lot of people hate that. That could also be it as well. But for me, as an outsider looking in, I've never really understood the hate that he gets. Because for me, as I said before, Lavia? Why? Because we played Latvia tonight. Mikel Merino is a joke. Hit that like button for us, please, people. Make sure you are subscribing as well.